Xbox's biggest competitor right now isn't PlayStation, it's Google. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Microsoft messed up big time with the launch of the Xbox One. It announced a console that required an internet connection and tied games to specific accounts. This complicated the sharing and reselling process, and executives repeatedly dismissed fans' concerns. When Phil Spencer announced a $499 price tag for the Xbox One at E3 2013, the audience gasped and fell silent.
At $499 in the US, and 499 euros in European markets, and 429 pounds in the UK.
Just hours later, Sony presented the PlayStation 4 as the balm to Xbox's burn. It had none of the complicated online policies and would cost just $399. The crowd went wild.
PlayStation 4 will be available at $399.
Microsoft did a U-turn on many of its controversial policies soon after E3, but the damage was done. The PlayStation 4 went on to outsell the Xbox One almost 2-to-1. Sales don't tell the whole story, though. Almost exactly a year ago today, I looked back on Microsoft's original plan for the Xbox One and realized it made a lot of sense. Fortnite, Destiny, Apex Legends, Overwatch, the biggest games of this generation are online only. Online purchases have outstripped sales of physical discs since 2013. Microsoft has used its underdog position to revitalize its image. The launch of the world's most powerful console, the Xbox One X, along with gamer-friendly initiatives like Xbox Game Pass and its embrace of crossplay for titles like Fortnite, has it riding high. Pressure from Xbox and Nintendo has even forced Sony to adopt cross-console play, at least in a few titles. To cap everything off, Microsoft launched an all-digital version of the Xbox One in March, finally making its dream for this generation a reality. This is how it's been for nearly 18 years. Sometimes Xbox is on top, sometimes PlayStation, but the pair push and pull at each other's business models, setting the standards of console gaming in the process. However, the video game universe is expanding. Streaming is the next obvious step, and Google is diving in with Stadia, a cloud service that promises the ability to stream any title to any device. If it works, it'll permanently alter the way we play games. Only one gaming company is currently poised to compete with Stadia. Spoiler, it isn't Sony. Microsoft has been preparing for this for years. The company has its own cloud infrastructure, and it's building a streaming service codenamed Project xCloud. Every game that runs on Xbox One, including Xbox 360 titles, will be playable via xCloud, giving the service a debut lineup of more than 3,500 titles. A beta is expected this year, which Microsoft will likely talk about in just a few hours at its E3 event. Now, Stadia. At its top tier and with a connection of at least 35 megabits per second, Google's streaming service promises lag-free 4K HDR gaming at 60 frames per second, all on a Chromecast Ultra, Pixel 3, or any laptop or PC. It'll have over 30 games available at launch, including Borderlands 3, Destiny 2, and Mortal Kombat 11, which Google says will load and be fully playable in about 5 seconds. That is, if it works. Companies like OnLive and Gaikai promised seamless game streaming in the past, but they were clearly deployed too soon. PlayStation Now, which came from Sony's purchase of Gaikai, still doesn't offer consistent or reliable gameplay. Google argues that Stadia will work because of its dense global cloud network and direct peering relationships with major internet service providers. However, Google doesn't have a special relationship with every ISP in the world. Rural internet generally sucks, and fiber isn't available to 70% of the nation. Google is promising a perfect version of streaming, and in November, it'll have to deliver. Whatever happens, Microsoft will be watching and learning. Xbox is the only gaming brand that has Google-like server expertise, and Microsoft is one of the few technology companies with the resources and experience in cloud computing to make game streaming a reality. Sony can't compete at this tier, and executives there know it. Microsoft and Sony announced a cloud partnership this May, which will let Sony tap into data centers and AI services. The partnership will help Sony build out its own streaming service, but it's also a sign that Microsoft is a leader in this space. Sony hasn't shied away from talking about its new PlayStation console, and we know it's a traditional upgrade. The company is promising better graphics and loading times in the hope that gamers will buy the new hardware and keep buying its games. Microsoft is pivoting away from this model. Sure, it'll still release new consoles with beefed up guts, but the business behind those boxes has shifted. $15 a month today gets you the company's Game Pass Ultimate, which combines Xbox Live Gold and Game Pass. It's also testing the waters with an online-only console, happily enabling crossplay and expanding its PC offerings, even going as far as putting Halo on Steam. In short, Xbox has broken free of its console gaming parameters and is setting its sights on the broader tech and games space. PlayStation isn't Xbox's top concern any longer. Google is massive enough that Stadia could crash and burn, and Google could walk away unscathed, a lot like it did with Fiber, and YouTube Gaming, and Google+, and Glass, and I could go on. Xbox and PlayStation are brands with reputations and revenue streams to protect. Microsoft was wrong before, and there's no guarantee that it's right this time. However, streaming will play a huge role in the future of video games. Over the next decade, it's likely that Xbox and PlayStation brands will evolve into services like HBO Now or Netflix. Consoles will be, and are already becoming, less important. In this world, content is king. PlayStation has a history rich in exclusive franchises, and Xbox has a few of its own. Plus, it just bought a handful of notable studios. Microsoft and Sony will probably go toe-to-toe on games forever. But right now, Microsoft and Google are fighting over where those games exist.